being here. You are here today because of a shared commitment. A commitment for yourself, for your firm, and most importantly for your clients. And at Nebo Wealth, we share in that same commitment. And we love to work with advisors who aim to differentiate their value proposition through personalized advice. We love working with advisors that want to instill greater confidence and trust in the portfolio recommendations that they make. We love working with financial advisors who want to maximize time-saving efficiency so they can spend more time with their existing clients and prospect for new clients. And most importantly, we love working with advisors that want to grow their firm's AUM, that want to increase their profitability, and ultimately unlock long-term value. And what today's session is all about is helping you move closer to what we think of as the future of personalized wealth management. Now, over the last week, if you follow Advyzon on social media, you would have seen all of the news reports come out. Big press releases. Advyzon Investment Management partnered with Nebo Wealth to deliver what we are unveiling to you today, which is truly the future of personalized model portfolios. Now, when you saw the press release and you saw the news, you may have said to yourself, what is Nebo Wealth? I've never heard of them. What we are is an open architecture, award-winning asset management platform that I believe is truly setting a new standard in goals-based wealth management. And this asset allocation and this portfolio design engine that drives all of Nebo Wealth is allowing advisory firms to deliver the personalization that clients expect today of us, but more importantly, the scale and efficiency that allows you to grow. And what it does is it lets you build truly customized portfolios for each and every single one of your clients with no more spreadsheets, no wasted time, no more one-size off-the-shelf model portfolios. This is the future of model portfolio management. And it is available today through Nebo Wealth and our partnership with Advyzon. Now, we have with us today, beyond just myself, our whole Nebo Wealth team. You heard Andy Finnegan, who introduced me. Andy's our marketing guru. We've got Martin Tarley at the back. Martin, I'm going to make you stand up. Martin actually gave the opening speech last night, if you were there for the awards. Martin is the professor. He is the product designer. We've got Matt Cadnar here, who's a member of the global asset allocation team and works on a lot of the investment-related stuff. And so we have a whole team here at Advyzon to help launch and unveil this new product solution. Now, where did Nebo Wealth come from? There's a large global asset manager by the name of GMO, co-founded by legendary investment manager Jeremy Grantham. $60 billion of AUM. Over the last decade, Nebo Wealth was developed inside of GMO. This was us having lunch with Jeremy the other day. And at that lunch, what he said to us, and I quote, Nebo Wealth may be one of the single best ideas to ever come out of the 40-year history of GMO. Very, very powerful words. But don't take our word for it. We are starting to win widespread industry recognition. In 2022, when we launched this as a solution for financial advisors and registered investment advisory firms, we won an Industry Disruptor Award. In 2023, we were voted the best goals-based investment platform. We were a finalist for Wealth Tech of the Year that year. Cerulli, the industry heavyweight, named us as a, quote, group of one. This is something that we think is very differentiated. Now, before we get into the solution itself, I want to step back and talk a little bit about the industry, because I think it's important to understand how we got here. There are some key trends that is driving our business, we are extraordinarily fortunate to be in this business, because what we find ourselves in today is a world where the US wealth management industry continues to grow. Why? Because we have this huge wave of baby boomers entering retirement who need and want our financial advice. We have this huge transition and transfer of wealth that's going to take place over the next couple of decades from those baby boomers to the next generation. So we are in a good place today. Trend number 2 is the reality is that demand for personalized advice is growing. In almost every single aspect of our lives, we demand personalization. From the way we buy stuff on Amazon, to the way we watch shows on Netflix, to the way we order our morning coffee. In every area of our lives, we expect personalization. And that trend is only going to continue when it comes to financial advice and wealth management. Big mega trend number 3 is this move to independence, this move to the fiduciary standard, so that you can actually deliver on that expectation of personalization. You are in a tremendous spot right now. And the last big mega trend that we see is technology. The ability to use technology to scale, to create operational efficiency, to grow your businesses and unlock value. Now, when it comes to personalization, almost every piece of research that I look at says it's just going to grow. I could do an hour's worth of research and charts. Clients expect personalization. The trade-off until now that we have all had to deal with is the fact that you can't have both. You can have personalization for clients, or you can have scalability, but you can't have both. And the holy grail when it comes to our business is, how do you get both? And what Nebo Wealth allows you to do is to get both personalization with scalability. This trade-off, if you will, right, becomes really evident when we look at portfolio construction and portfolio management. Because you sit down with clients every single day. You learn about their wants and their needs and their wishes. You determine their goals and their aspirations. You go through the financial planning process. You gather all of this information up about clients, and then you have a decision to make. Do I take all of that information, and do I sit down and do I develop and build a customized portfolio for every client? I would love to say the answer to that is yes, but it is time consuming. It takes a tremendous amount of resources. It takes expertise to model all of those different variables. And often what it means is Excel spreadsheets. And who has not got caught in an Excel spreadsheet with the wrong VLOOKUP? Or the wrong formula in where the modeling doesn't work? We would love to be able to live personalized, customized portfolios for every client, but it's not profitable to do so. And so what's the alternative? The alternative has been to turn to model portfolios. They create efficiency, they create automation, they provide for scale, but they're not personalized. You can't customize them to the individual needs of the client. And so this trade-off emerges. Now, as your firm grows, you have other trade-offs and considerations. The first is simply time. Think about your day. How much time are you spending on non-revenue generating activities? The research would tell us 2/3 of your day. Non-revenue generating activities, not in front and working with clients. So how do you manage your time as your business grows? Number 2 is, what's your value proposition going to be? How many of you, quick show of hands, lead with planning? Planning-oriented firms. How many of you lead with investments? Quick show of hands. A few. You have to make a decision. Do you lead with planning? Do you lead with investments? Do you lead with some combination of the two, what is your value proposition going to be in the marketplace? How are you going to differentiate yourself from the 33,000 other RIA firms out there? And number 3 is simply resources. At a certain point, you just can't do it all yourself, which necessitates a question. Are you going to hire somebody to grow the firm, which brings on a whole new level of risk? Or are you going to outsource some part of your business in order to create a platform of growth? And when we think about outsourcing, one of the biggest trends is this outsourcing of asset management. The data would suggest that you as RIAs are beginning to outsource more and more, in particular over the last couple of years. But I have literally worked with thousands of advisors throughout my career. And you know what I hear when it comes to outsourcing through model portfolios? It's great, it's efficient, it's scalable, but if I do that, I lose control. My identity as an advisor, my investment philosophy is sometimes lost in that translation. I worry that if I outsource to models, my clients may look at me and my, quote, value proposition is diluted. The model marketplace, while it is good, may not have enough of the choices that I want. They may not include the kinds of asset classes that I want to include in portfolios. They don't allow me to customize to the individual needs of the clients. And that's my value proposition. So the question ultimately is, how do I bridge this gap between the benefits of models, but maintaining discretion and maintaining control and maintaining my personality, whether that be individually as a firm? And those trade-offs now, you do not have to contend with. Because the trend in model portfolios is right here. It's not just the growth of model portfolios. What it really is the growth of advisor-led model portfolios, where you keep control and you keep discretion and you build models off the asset classes that you want to use in a completely open architecture platform where you can implement across anything that you want. Stocks, bonds, ETFs, where you become the strategist, where you become your own turnkey asset manager. That's where the future resides. Now, to make this happen, you need 2 keys. There are 2 key elements to unlock where this industry is going. The first is simply technology. You have to have a platform that allows for trading and rebalancing, the infrastructure, the foundation of what model portfolios are, the automation, the streamlined process. That's where Advyzon Investment Management comes in. Their platform to allow models to trade and rebalance in a systematic way. And that partnership is what we announced last week. That's part 1. The real key to unlock personalization and scale is what I'm about to introduce here, and that is Nebo Wealth. The ability to connect the financial planning process that you go through with clients to the portfolio. That connection there of plan to portfolio is what drives Nebo Wealth, and ultimately is going to what differentiates your firm in the market and what is going to allow you to grow. Now, I have a question for you. If I were to ask you how important asset allocation is to client outcomes, on a scale of 0 to 100, I'm going to ask you, how important is getting the right asset allocation for a client in terms of their outcomes? Big number or small number? What would you say? 80%. What would you say? You can't say the same. It's like The Price is Right. You got to go 82. What would you say? 90. What would you say? 91. 92. 100, what would you say? 70, what would you say? 75, okay. Would you agree that asset allocation is important, yes or no? I would argue it's the most important thing. If we sit back and we think about getting investment outcomes right for clients, the most important variable is making sure that we have the right asset allocation at the right point in time. Right? The academics will argue as to the percentage, but it is a big number. Now, the challenge that we have as an industry, as important as asset allocation is too often we allow asset allocation to be determined by a single input. Let me give you a couple of examples here. We have a client, we go through the planning process, we learn about their needs, wants, and wishes, we do financial planning, we do all of that good work, and then they happen to be in, let's just say, a 401k plan. And when you go into a 401k plan, they put you into what's called a target date fund, do they not? And what is the one and only variable that they use to determine which target date fund you go into? Your age. How old are you? So here's two examples. 55 years old, both going to retire at 64, same age, same retirement, vastly different incomes, vastly different savings rates, vastly different account values. They don't even give them the risk tolerance test, but let's just assume they did and you get different scores. Yet they're still in the same portfolio. Because what's the one variable they use to determine asset allocation to target date funds? Say it. Age. Okay? Let's look at another example. We have, let's say, two investors. Of course, not you, but other advisors who aren't as skilled as you. And they sit down and they go through and they ask about their hopes and dreams and their desires. They do the financial planning process. They gather all that information up. They take all that valuable information, they push it aside, and then they pull out something called a risk tolerance test. And they ask them a bunch of questions to determine how much money could you lose before you lose sleep at night. And the output of that simple risk tolerance questionnaire forms a risk score. And that risk score drives them into a portfolio, an asset allocation. Here's two examples, a 30-year-old and a 60-year-old, same retirement age, but again, vastly different incomes, vastly different savings rates, vastly different account balance, but they answered the risk tolerance questionnaire the same way, and so they get the same portfolio. What's the other problem with risk tolerance tests? They're really behaviorally biased. Do you think you get the same answer in the middle of a bull market as you do in the bear market? No, the output of the risk score can vary depending on what happens that day in the market. And the result of all of this is that we have this huge disconnect between clients and the, quote, appropriate asset allocation. This is a quote from someone we work with. 90% of our clients are in the moderate model. And we know that's not the right answer. I'm not going to ask you to put your hands up if you can relate to this, but we hear this every single day. The reason this happens is because there is simply a gap that exists in the industry between the financial plan and the portfolio. It is literally hidden in plain sight. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. And this gap exists because too often we define risk with clients as volatility. We define risk by a risk tolerance test and how much money can you lose before you lose sleep at night. How much short-term market volatility can you handle to hit your long-term goals, which we know are behaviorally biased based on what's going on in the market on any given day, month, or year. And so when we ask advisors, do you see this? The answer is yes. We've surveyed hundreds of advisors, and we've said to them, do you see this gap that exists between the sort of plan and the portfolio? Like almost 90% say yes. It's the dirty little secret that everybody knows. We took it a step further and we said, do you actually struggle Do you struggle? Now, struggle is a strong word. Not everyone wants to actually admit it, but actually 60% admit I struggle connecting the plan with the portfolio. So coming back to how do we deliver on personalization? The answer is we have to redefine what risk means. Okay? And what risk means for clients is simply this: not having what they need when they need it. Not having the financial resources they need at the point in time that they need it. For more affluent clients, I would argue, it is not having what they want when they want it. We can define it lots of different ways, but at the core heart of financial planning, when you sit down face to face with a client, it's this. So then the question is, okay, if we know this is how we want to think about defining risk, and we want to do a better job in delivering personalized advice, how do we do that? And that's where Nebo Wealth sits in. You see, at the core of what we do is we start with an investment policy process. And I use that word carefully. It's a process. It's a process that incorporates all of the elements from the financial planning that you do. We take into account, yes, the time horizon that they have to their goals. We take into account the risk tolerance of that client. We then take into account the required return that they need to satisfy and hit that goal. We incorporate the cash flows of the client. And we take those variables and we put it into what we have developed, which is a risk optimization engine. All those awards that I told you about at the beginning, that's what we're winning awards for. It's not relying on a single input. It's relying on the full array of availability information that we have from the client through the financial planning process to determine what the, quote, optimal asset allocation is for that client to maximize the likelihood that they achieve their goals. Because I asked you earlier how important asset allocation is, and we all agreed it's the most important. I think someone said critical thing. Now, this is not a, quote, one and done process. Because life changes. Clients' cash flows change, do they not? Their time horizon changes literally every day. Markets aren't static. Markets go up and down. Valuations change. Capital market assumptions change. Nebo Wealth takes all of that into account. So a traditional sort of approach would simply be this. I put somebody into a portfolio, and their, quote, glide path is fairly linear, and every year I reduce risk by a little bit, and I rebalance. But that's not real life, is it? Ask yourself this question. E-Money, Money Guide Pro, Right Capital, I could go down the list. If client cash flows change, or market conditions change, do any of those tools change the client's asset allocation? No. Now ask yourself, why? It's not that they're bad, they're just maybe incomplete. What Nebo Wealth does is takes all of that information through this risk optimization engine, and so on any given day, at any point in time, throughout the entire journey of your client's financial life, you can touch one button and determine what the, quote, optimal asset allocation is for that client to maximize the likelihood that they hit their goals, to minimize shortfall risk to the goals that you set out in the financial plan. And so over the course of time, what you end up getting is a dynamic glide path that adapts to your client's life and market conditions. Now, when you think about Nebo Wealth as a platform, as an asset management solution, there's a path that we go down. We start with the personalized financial plan. You are incredibly equipped to work with clients every single day. You go through the financial planning process. We take that good work that you do, we take all of the inputs and the data from that financial plan, And what that does is that drives into this optimization engine. That's what delivers the personalized asset allocation. Not once, but at every single point throughout their life. We then take that personalized asset allocation and we design, and I use that word carefully, we design a portfolio around whatever asset classes you want to use. Your investment philosophy, your investment menu. We build a Nebo Wealth platform for your firm. Do you use private equity? Do you use private credit? Do you use alternatives? We can optimize around all of those. Can I give you a real quick case study example? How many of you work with small business owners? Right? Big chunk of their net worth locked up in their business. 30%, 40%. We literally can take their business, create a sleeve in our Nebo Wealth Optimizer, call it an illiquid asset, assign a return vol and correlation to it, and then optimize around it and design a portfolio for that client taking into account their illiquid asset. I speak to CEO groups all the time. I was in Chicago a couple of weeks back. I introduced that concept to a room of 25 CEOs. Afterwards, at the cocktail hour, every single one of them came up to me, and you know what they said? How do I get that? And I go, well, we don't offer this directly to end investors. It's only through a wealth manager, an RIA firm. And you know what their next question was? How do I find one of those? And I said, well, I'm happy to introduce you to one of our advisors that's using Nebo Wealth. The power to optimize around almost any asset class of your choosing. From there, we move into implementation, where again, we are completely open architecture. Do you want to implement through ETFs, mutual funds, individual securities? We are agnostic. Again, we allow you to maintain your choice and flexibility. And when you get to this point, what you end up with is tickers and weights. And we take those tickers and weights through this portfolio design process, and complete end-to-end integrates right into Advyzon Investment Management. And they will trade and rebalance the portfolio. And they will deliver on billing and reporting. What I am literally unveiling to you today is the future of model portfolios. And what you end up with is a personalized portfolio for every single client. The client becomes their own model. You are the investment strategist. You become your own platform with Nebo Wealth. And what we do is we connect the plan to the portfolio in a way that no one has been able to do before. And we unlock this, quote, trade-off that we've had to deal with forever, which is personalization and scalability. Totally personalized portfolios, totally scalable, elevating the client experience, but more importantly, fueling the growth of your firm. Nebo Wealth, for those advisory firms that are using us right now, it is the heart of their marketing engine. It is that differentiated in the market. So the question we get asked a lot is, how are firms using this into their practice? And I think there's two ways to think about this. The first is using Nebo Wealth as a tool to help in existing model selection, right? So think about your firm today. Many of you probably use some form of model portfolios, whether they're outsourced or you build your own models in-house. Conservative to aggressive across a chain of them. Nebo Wealth will take the financial planning process, take those inputs through our optimization and say, what's the right model for the client today? Or what's the right model a year from now if market conditions change? And so we see firms using Nebo Wealth to select the appropriate model from their existing lineup. Whether that be target date funds or firms within your, or models within your firm. Now, I'm going to ask you to use your imagination for a second, because what I'm going to introduce next is where the industry is going. You can do this today, but I also recognize that this may be a transition for many of you as you think about your practice over the next couple of years. The future of models is right here, where Nebo Wealth takes your underlying asset classes, your underlying building blocks that you use to build portfolios today across any asset class, from equity, fixed income, hedge funds, private equity. We take those building blocks. We take that portfolio and we disassemble it into its pieces. And then what Nebo Wealth does is takes those pieces and reassembles them back for every single client. Takes the financial planning process, the inputs through our optimization engine, takes the components that you choose and reassembles them for every single client. So that every single client in your firm becomes their own model. And you might look at that and go, gosh, that's going to be a lot of work, every client with their own model. But it's all built on a technology platform with fully integrated trading and rebalancing, that the end result here is less work than what you're doing right now. And the ability to do that with a level of customization that you control and an implementation choice that you control means that trade-off that you've had to give up for years no longer exists. And firms that are doing that are telling us every day that it is literally changing the way they do business. This is Hexamer. It's a group that's been using Nebo for 2 years now. They used to have 5 models, conservative to aggressive. They'd meet with clients. The financial planning process would drive them into 1 of 5 models. Now they have over 100 personalized client models, truly elevating the client experience with no more time, effort, resources, or work than they were doing before. The way this works is through this integration. The ability to use Nebo on the front end, connected to the financial planning process, to drive the asset allocation decision that makes sense today, to build and design a portfolio across any asset class, to implement it through an open architecture platform, and then takes that information and directly feeds it into an integrated trading and rebalancing tool. And this partnership that we've developed with Advyzon, that we went live and launched in a press release last week and are unveiling here today, is where I think the industry is going. And as you start to think a couple more years out, and you think about the implementation on the back end, where we're really getting to is where you layer in direct indexing on the back end. And now you can tax optimize across the household of securities on a fully integrated end-to-end platform. But the way it all works, the way it becomes really personalized, is not a model off the shelf. It's a model for every client, where their asset allocation is customized to their plan and can change over time based on all the variables I deliver. So what do we think this is ultimately going to do? The truth is, I think it's going to differentiate your firm in a way that maybe you didn't anticipate. It's clearly going to unlock value through growth of assets under management. It's going to drive scale and efficiency in your business. No longer do you have to trade off the off-the-shelf model, give up control. For firms that are larger with multiple advisors, what Nebo Wealth is, it becomes a systematic process that sits on top of your firm through the entire asset management assembly line. And because every client is in their own portfolio, we have a rational reason as to why they're in that portfolio, time-stamped through the Nebo Wealth process. So from a regulatory and compliance perspective, it enhances that. I have no idea what your end state goal may be for your firm. But down the road, if you have a systematic and process in place, in a manner that I just described to you today, what that does is it creates an extra turn on the back end in multiples, depending on what you're going to do with your firm. What does it do for you as an advisor, or for the advisors in your firm? This is a level of differentiation that you just don't find anywhere else. The CEO example, our ability to optimize around their business owners, let me tell you, that is a highly referable activity. They all get together and talk. They tell other people. Nobody can do that. It creates, what we hear from advisors is more confidence and trust in the portfolio recommendations you make. You have a good intuition as to why you build the portfolios you do for clients. What Nebo Wealth does is validates that intuition. Or maybe allows you to question some of the assumptions that you may have made. But what we hear from advisors is it gives me confidence in the personalized recommendations that I make. What's it do for clients? This is literally institutional quality asset management and portfolio design in your hands, with an ability to deliver to any client that comes into your practice. Within 60 seconds, somebody can come in. If you don't want to go through the full financial planning process, you can ask them how old they are, when they'd like to retire, how long do you think you're going to live, what's your current wealth, roughly how much do you save per year, how much do you want to spend per year in retirement. You can hit a button, Nebo's optimization engine will go to work, and we will spit out a personalized portfolio. And you can simply ask a client, why is your current advisor not doing this right now? It is the perfect fit portfolio for every client, with no more work and effort before. This is what we hear. Like, this sounds weird. Literally, advisors say this is magical. I had a come to Nebo moment. Sometimes it takes a second to get it, but once you see this unfold before your eyes, you can't unsee it. This is where model portfolios are going. The question is, do you want to embrace now or wait and play catch up? And what we're doing today and here at the conference, if you're interested in learning more and seeing a demo, is introducing this integration of Nebo Wealth and Advyzon. The beauty of the way that we're launching it is it allows you to begin to implement with a single client, or a small block of clients, or a certain client profile. Doesn't mean you have to move your whole book over today. You can test drive. But I think what you're going to find, and what our experience is that advisors that start to incorporate Nebo into their business, it becomes the engine of growth of their business. And if you'd like to learn more, definitely come by our booth. You can take a quick scan of the QR code. It'll take you to our website, nebowealth.com. And what we would love to do is find 15 or 20 minutes to jump on a call and literally show you how this can seamlessly integrate into your current tech stack and take your business to new heights. And with that, I thank you for attending today, and we look forward to seeing you for the rest of the conference.